Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of RE035, where I take old stories and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Curre ad Sonus Bellum, written by RegalLegalEagle. The lecture hall was quiet, the assembled students carefully examining the man standing before them. They all knew his uniform. They all knew to show respect. This far down in the spire, this was one of the few careers they could all aspire to. Though the man standing before them wasn't smiling and cheerful, he was somber and thoughtful as he looked back across the faces before him. He would choose his words carefully. When he spoke, his voice carried clear, but not loud. To get this job, you really have to understand what it demands of you, what you have to go through in order to earn this badge. He tapped a patch on his shoulder, which they all recognized. I want you all to close your eyes right now, to listen to my words and try and picture what I'm telling you, to let the images come to your mind in as much clarity as you can manage. Don't think of this as me. Think of this as you. Throughout the room, they closed their eyes, attent and focused on what he had to say next. He didn't mention to them, in a way, this was the very first test on their road to his career, should they want it. When he began to talk again, they each tried to think of it as themselves, opening their eyes mentally to imagine what he was saying where they could. This job, like so many others, is mostly centered around boredom. You sit around with your partner and fill the time with small talk, cards, and dicking around, mostly. But even then, you have to keep your ears open. You just let the sounds of the spire wash over you, letting everything around you take shape through your ears. To hear the gentle throb of electricity mingling with the murmur of the crowds in the distance. The chime of nearby elevators and occasional announcements of the PA. You just listen. Even as you talk or eat or find some other way to bide your time, you listen. Always. When you hear it, you don't get up immediately. You wait just a second. There is too many sounds in the spire that can be confused, so you wait to hear it again. You might stand up to get ready, but not always. You listen for it. That far-off pop or crack, normally distorted and echoing around the walkways and pylons. Then you hear it again, and this time it has company. That's when you move. As the crackling of distant gunfire gets louder, your radio picks up in your ear and you get confirmation, but you're already moving. Today, it was down below you, so you leap from your perch with your partner. The wings along your arms and legs extend as you swiftly glide down, the sounds of fighting growing louder as you can begin to hear the muffled screams of civilians running away. Even as you move, your visor tries to show a more direct path to your objective, while you twist and dive to avoid the wires, ducts, and other hanging threads strung between buildings and supports. Any of them could snap your neck if you got tangled in them at this speed. You fly past flashing neon signs and billboard screens of smiling faces trying to sell you something. You hear the cries of angry residents as you pass through the laundry hung out to dry on the various lines and wires, but you ignore all of that. As you get close to your destination, you lean back, bringing your legs back under you as you hit with a jolt of air brakes and mini thrusters. But even so, you start to move your legs so you hit the ground running. The screams are louder, the sound of battle is clearer. The radio is going wild with calls for backup and support. This is far down. It'll take an hour before any medivac can find a clear landing pad. That's why you're here. That's why you're running. Some people see you and try to get out of your way. They know the uniform. They know your purpose. But others are just blindly fleeing from the sounds behind them. The sounds you're seeking out. So you have to be quick as you move. This far down in the spire, not everyone is running, of course. You can still hear the throb of bass from the dance club nearby. Shop owners are watching from their doorways, hands inside, ready to reach for a weapon if they need to defend their business. But no one except the two of you are running this way. You're fighting the tide. The two of you have split up then. To escape the press of bodies moving away from your destination, you have to cut through a hair block. Even as you run through the lobby and down the hall, you can hear a click of locks being activated on either side of you. Just as much as some people are going to love seeing you and thank whatever deity they like for your arrival, there are others who understand you being there means something bad is going down. Your visor flashes a warning at you that the connecting walkway at the end of the hall is out. This is the dark of the spire after all. Maintenance is always backlogged. But it doesn't matter because you know this is the only way through. You can't delay. Every heartbeat you miss is a heartbeat of life they may desperately need. You see it just ahead of you then. A garbage drone starting to pass by the window. That's your way across the gap. You turn sideways to barely squeeze through the automatic doors that's opening too slowly for you to rush through, and then you jump, hands raised up to grab the drone as it passes by. It doesn't care about the danger nearby, and if you fail to grab on tight and instead plummet to your death far below, another drone just like it will eventually come to collect your remains. But today, you do not slip. You grip the drone tight and it lifts you up, moving across the gap where you can jump free, tucking and rolling as you hit the walkway on the far side. Your partner is already ahead of you. There are no civilians anymore, just cops, criminals, and patients. Your partner is already tending to a cop stretched out on the ground, clutching his throat as he slowly bleeds out. But he's looking at something just out of arm's reach. A memento, a hollow pick. It doesn't matter. He might take it, he might not. You keep running. All around you, there's gunfire and screaming, cops yelling at you to get down, that you're crazy, that you shouldn't be here. But you ignore them, because you see a body ahead of their makeshift barricade. Between them and the criminals, holed up somewhere across the street. You think it's moving. It's weak, but it's moving. So you run past them. You can hear the crack of bullets flying past your head as you slide when you're close enough to get in close to the body, and you roll over it. Female, mid-20s. You only need a moment to see that glazed look in the eyes, the slightly open mouth. Deceased. But movement was a child pinned or protected under the woman's body. The child is screaming, crying, bleeding. You grab the child and move. You ignore the gunfire. The criminals were really trying to shoot you on purpose. But of course, a bullet doesn't care who fired it or for what reason. You don't get shot today. You slide back under cover behind the barricade to inspect the child. Grazing shot, left arm, flesh wound. It only takes you 10 seconds to get a bandage gel out of your pack and slap it in place. Then you push the child into the arms of a cop who's nearby to help keep it in place. You ignore its cries and screams for its mother. You don't have time to comfort it. You don't have time. There are more screams, calls for a medic on either side, more people who need help. You can't stop. You won't stop. Not till the battle is long over. Not till the medivacs have finally arrived. And by then, you'll be tired. And you'll most likely be covered in blood. And you will not be able to save everyone. In the end, you and your partner have done everything you can. The cops give you a lift to the nearest bathhouse, where you can shower off for a few minutes, but then you need to get back to your perch, to listen and wait. This is only the start of your shift, and this deep in the spine, you've got a long day ahead of you. Now open your eyes. The room full of people shifted and stirred in the seats as they opened their eyes once more to look at the man at the head of the room. He was standing quietly, looking very tired. This was yesterday. This is not an unusual call, but this is the life you must expect with this job. This is the person you must be if you want this patch. He tapped his arm yet again. Curre ad Sonus Bellum. Run towards the sound of battle. That's what you must do. That's what we must do. As everyone else runs and hides, you must put yourself willingly in danger. You must fight the tide and run towards the fighting. To help. There will be those who help. Down here, that's us. Some people will thank you. Most will have no memory of you once they wake up in a hospital. Some people will curse you and scream at you for being unable to save someone they love. You will sacrifice much, but gain little, besides insomnia and nightmares. He got quiet once more as he slowly looked around the room. Some faces he expected to see again, some he did not. This job, this life, is not for everyone, and there is no shame in that. Fear and desire to run from danger are very strong emotions within many of us. Some of you may be destined for heights, to operate medevacs or work in hospitals and clinics. But some of you will meet the standards required to become one of us, to earn yourself a patch. And for all the people out there who think this job is crazy, some of you won't, because you're the type. You're like me, to run towards the sound of battle, to help. Because if not you, then who? This far down in the spire, we are often the only rays of light and hope for the wounded. We are the ones who show up when no one else can or will. And we are not super soldiers or cyborgs or anything like that. We are human. Nothing more, nothing less. When the lecture was over, some would sign up, some would not. Some would wash out, some would make it. No matter the place, no matter how bad, there always were and would be those who filled this role, who ran towards danger, to help, always. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.